Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let me express my gratitude for the support you are giving to my videos. And today it's going to be a long video, I confess, and it is another malware analysis video. I'm going to examine one of the custom remote access trojans out there, and malwares cannot only carried by MS Office, MS Excel, or MS PowerPoint documents. It can also be crafted with PDF documents. And in this video, I'm going to examine one of such samples carried by a PDF decoy document. So without wasting a time, let's start. Actually, this malware analysis begins with this tweet by Malware Hunter team. Actually, actually they are functioning as a team. They are basically malware analysts. So their job is to analyze the samples that they are facing, they are getting from the internet, and they only posted this sample, and they also mentioned that the decoy document. It looks like the Spanish document written in Spanish, and it might have used to lure the Spanish users. And so this is the file hash actually, and the PDF name. I couldn't get the PDF. However, I was able to retrieve the document with .roo extension. Actually, this particular document is loaded by this PDF document. So I was able to get this particular .roo document. If I scroll down, uh, a security researcher, James, posted the links for the samples, and the .roo sample is already present in Malware Bazaar. So I used this link to gather the sample, and from this particular sample, I will be able to retrieve this VBS and rest of the samples. So I'm going to showcase how to uncover the sample and what is the behavior of that sample and how it is hidden. So I'm going to showcase those stuffs here. Now I am in a Linux distribution called Remnux, exclusively designed for malware analysis. If you are handling any suspicious or known malicious sample, it is highly recommended using some isolated VM environment. So our Remnux is recommended. Here is the folder. I created a folder called Vault, and within this folder, I'm having the sample, the hash value followed by the file extension zip, and again it's a zip archive data. I need to unzip this document with 7z utility and pasting the file name, and the password is infected. It is done. So the file is uncovered. I can see the file with .roo extension. Let me check its file type. As I said, the file type is rare archive data, but the extension is ROO. The file extension might be deceiving, so try to use the file utility to understand the exact file type. So this is the file type, and now let's uncover this rare file as well. Again, I'm using the 7z utility. Again, x2 extract and the file type ROO, giving enter, and it is asking password, and the password is 2022. I obtained this password from the tweet, and so I'm using it. And after the uncovering the file, I can see the document here. So the name is very lengthy, so let me rename here. Uh, suspicious.pbs. All right, now let me check its file type. It is Little Endian UTF-16 Unicode text with very long lines. Uh, I have no idea what sort of file it is, but the extension says it's VBS script. So let me confirm. I'm opening it with Sublime Text. You may prefer the text editor you want. So this is the file. I can see some random colons. And if I scroll down, I can see the program starts here. By seeing this syntax, I can understand this must be Visual Basic script. So it's once again a Visual Basic script. So let's analyze that sample. You can see uh, it is heavily obfuscated. Actually, the malware creator handles some obfuscation mechanism to hide, to dodge the antivirus engines. So let's try to uncover this sample. And as of now, I stored this file as suspicious.vbs. So let me copy this file to stage1.vbs. And I'm opening it, stage1.vbs. So let's modify this file. Uh, First of all, they are handling some obfuscation. It begins with colon. If you go and enable the word wrap, you can see how it prolongs some random unreadable watch symbol. And also, if I scroll down further, there are multiple unreadable characters. And if I'm continuing to scroll down, I can see a lot of blob, lot of nonsense here. So let me, let's try to clear this thing. So I'm again disabling the word wrap. So let's see what is the colon. So colon operator in VB script. I already opened the Firefox. So get some help from Google. Colon operator in VB script. Colons are used when two or more lines of VB script ought to be written in a single line. Hence, VB script colons act as a line separator. So it is simply a line separator. Let me go here again. It's a line separator actually, which means we can write two different lines in a single line with the colon as a separation point. So that's what they are trying to say. And let's try to replace this colon with new line character as it is line separator. With the new line character, I'm trying to replace. So after I replacing it with new line character, I can see it is just an empty space. So they just used the colon to represent some empty space, so some sort of obfuscation to dodge the antivirus engine. And let me remove the line that are begin with the new line character and control H. I enable the regular expression /n to represent the new line character, and I'm replacing it with nothing. I was wrong. Actually, I should have added the cap sign before the new line character, which means in regular expression, if you add the cap sign, then if any line that begins with new line character, it will be replaced with none. So let me do it once again. Now, after replacing, I eliminated all those empty lines, and now I minimized this obfuscation, and still we have some obfuscation employed here. So let's see one by one. If you see this particular line, it is just a blob. It is nothing. So it doesn't mean anything. Uh, though it looks like a base 64 character, and if I, sorry, once again, let me bring it in the clipboard. Is not actually a base 64. It's just a blob, nothing. So they just used it for some obfuscation. So this is the list of the string that we need to remove, and to remove that, I'm simply copying and pasting this with new line character. And here, now I need to replace it with empty line, empty string. So replace all. Now I remove that part as well. Now you can see this is what the VB script that we need to analyze. We simply minimized the number of lines drastically. Now let's begin. The first line begins with on error resume next. So what it is? Let's Google in VB script. It's very powerful but dangerous bit of syntax, but be very cautious using it. Let's read it here. It allows error handling. So this is the particular line used for error handling. On error, resume next. The line itself says whenever the error occurs, it ignores that error and it proceeds further. So that's what this particular line says. So it's simply an error handling operation, error handling line. On error, resume next. If we don't use an on error, resume next statement, then any runtime error that occurs is fatal. The error message is displayed and the execution stops. So this particular line will continue the flow of execution, though there is an error occurs. So that is the line. And earlier we had the line termination colon, right? So after that, they added this particular line for some error handling. So let's move on to the next one. DIM keyword. DIM keyword is used for describing the variables in VB script. DIM statement allows you to explicitly declare one or more new variables and allocate storage memory space. When you do not have to use DIM to create new variables in VB script, the wise programmer prefers to use DIM. So DIM is usually variable defining string. Actually, they are using DIM keyword to define these three variables. So let's see wherever these variables are used. All these three variables are called in many places. So why don't we replace these variable names in an understandable format, in an easy way to identify. So let me use Control F to find and Control H to define the replacement. Variable 1. The name I'm giving as variable 1 and Control Alt Enter to replace. And the next one, once again, variable 2, Control Alt Enter to replace, and Control F, Control H to replace variable 3. Control Alt Enter once again to rename the every occurrence. Okay, now if I say the variable 2, it contains a string where they concatenated the string. So once they concatenated, the update will be the value will be look like PUTRA T capital S. So this is the value the variable 2 as of now contains. And in the next line, the variable 2 is once again called. If you see this function, you will get to know. They called this variable 2 as an argument inside this function. And the value is this. And if I see the function, I need to understand what this function is doing so that I'll be able to understand this operation. So let's see the function definition. Uh, yeah, here I can see the function definition. The function is defined here. So let's see what this particular function is doing. And if I see this function definition, there is one argument and one variable that defined inside this, and the variable having the value of this initially. So let me create a new document and simply pasting it here. So this is the value currently holded by this variable, and in the next line, they're again calling this value the variable. It will bring this value here, and they're appending this particular string with this string. So let me append that. So this is how the variable value looks like. Now let me put it in a comment. So this is the value currently stored within this variable. And if you see the next function, they called a function and a value, I mean a function and three arguments here. The first argument, our variable, and the second argument, a random string, and the third argument, an empty string. So let's see what this function is doing. If I search for this function definition, I can see the function definition here. Now let's see this function first. So if I see this function, there are three arguments and one variable is defined, and also the value is defined here. So let me paste this value here, and if I go to the next line, again they are calling the variable and appending it with the word replace. So let's see, it will be look like this. They're appending it with the word replace, and the next line they're appending it with another arguments that is enclosed with in bracket. So this is the operation, replace three arguments. So what it does, when they execute this particular variable, I mean the value within the variable, it will execute this replace function. So it is simply doing some replace operation. So that's what this function definition says. So let's learn what this replace function is doing. Replace function in VB script. So if you see the function definition, you can see the syntax here. The first syntax, the replace, the first string, and the second argument is find, and the third argument is replace with. So let me explain in a clear way. If you see this sentence, the variable txt contains the string, this is a beautiful day. And in the next line, if you see, they called the replace function, and also they called the string, I mean the variable text contains this line, and they look for beautiful because the second argument is defining the find operation. So it will look for the word beautiful in this sentence, and the third argument is replace with. Replace with is the argument value is fantastic here. So what they do, they will find this line first, and they will look for the word beautiful, and they will replace that word with the word fantastic. So the output will be this is a fantastic day, and this is what all about the replace function. Now let's move on to the code. So if I move to the code, I can see from this definition, it is simply a replace function. So I'll rename this as replace function. Now Control Alt Enter once again to replace every occurrence. Now let me go to the function call. So here is the function call. Actually, it called within the function. When we were trying to understand this function definition, we found this function call here, and we went to that function definition and found what sort of function it is. Now let's continue this. It's a replace function, and we have the value also, and the value is nothing but this one. We already have it in this sheet separately. So what sort of operation is doing? It is trying to find this string and replacing it with the empty string. It's a replacement operation. So let me search for the string and Control H to replace tab, and I'm clearing. It is empty string. Control Alt Enter once again to string reverse. So this is what the value now. All right. Now this particular replace function doing some replacement, and it found it is string reverse. So if I, after I did some replacement operation, it gave me the string reverse in a different color. It's nothing but it is a separate function. So in VB script. So let's learn that function as well. String reverse in VB script. So let's understand that. If I go here, string reverse, and inside a string is called as an argument, and they are defining a variable txt with a keyword dim, and inside the variable they are calling a value, this is a beautiful day, and they are calling the string reverse operation, and within that they are calling this sentence. So once it is done, what they do, what is the output? The output is they simply reverse the string. So that is the operation here. So what they are doing, they are simply reversing that string. And if you see this, now what it does, it performs some string reverse operation. And this is the value at the end of this sentence, that mkwbps carry. And at the end of this sentence, this will be appended with this bracket enclosed string. Now this is the value being holded by this variable, and when it executes, it performs the string reverse operation. So I can rename this function as reverse function. So once again, I am giving control F to search, control H to replace, and in Sublime Text, and the replacement function name is reverse, sorry, reverse function, the name to be replaced, and it will replace all the occurrence. Replace all, control alt enter. And if I reverse this, now it replicated everywhere. Now let me go to this function call where we initially started, and here is the function call. So it performs some reverse function. So when it reverses the variable 2, the variable 2 value is this one, what we will get. So let's try to reverse this word. I'm using Python this time to reverse, Python 3, and inside the Python 3 uh, command line, so I can simply paste that string that I need to reverse inside a single quote. And to reverse the string, I'm using square bracket colon -1 to reverse. And if I give enter, I got the reversed string. It's nothing but startup. Now let's see. Let's go to the code. Now this particular variable 2 is holding the value of startup. It looks like it is referring to the Windows startup folder. But without deciding now itself, let's analyze, let's examine further. The next variable, variable 1. Here they are defining the value for variable 1, and they straightforwardly define the variable value here. Create object. You can see they are concatenating the string. If you concatenate, you will get wscript.shell. Okay, and dot current directory and ampersand character to concatenate two strings, and backward slash again concatenation wscript dot script name. So this is the value for variable 1. Now let's move on to the next one. The variable 2. Once again, they are calling variable 2. Currently, the variable 2 is holding this startup value, and the variable 2 here they are calling with another function. So let's see what sort of function it is. Let's see the function definition. It is the function call. I need to go to function definition, control F. I'm giving enter, and here I landed in the function definition. So if I did some alignment, so here is the function definition. So let's see what it is. Um, they are simply defining a variable and putting a value within the variable. Let's paste it here, and again they are calling the variable and appending it with another string. Okay, and in the next place they are doing some replacement operation, and they are calling the whole string stored in this variable, and they're trying to find this specific string and replace it with the empty string. So let me find that, and control H once again to define the replacement, and it is empty string. Control alt enter to replace, and here I can see the function is instr. What is instr? Let's learn that. Now the function is instr. So if I go here and look for instr in VB script, let me uh, learn what is instr. So this is the syntax. If you see this syntax, instr function is using two arguments, string 1 and string 2. String 1 and string 2 are mandatory arguments, but the arguments given inside the bracket are optional. So that's what they gave here. And the first string 1 is nothing but the string to be searched, and the second is the string expression to search for. So if you see this particular line, Again, the same line. This is a beautiful day, and they are calling the instr function, and they also defined the variable here, and they are searching for the word beautiful, and they also giving the output as 11. So this is what this instr function does. So we can simply call this function as find function, as it is doing some find operation. So let's do that. Control F, Control H replacement, find underscore function. Control Alt Enter once again to replace the occurrence. I'm again moving to find function. Now let me go to the function call. So here is the function call. As we said, the find function is will be holding two arguments, and if we see the argument, we see the blob, bunch of unprintable watch characters. I'm not sure what it is. It is definitely an unprintable character, must be a blob. So I'm trying to remove this unprintable characters, and let me remove that. So after removing that, I can see the clear view of find function. And the find function is having two arguments, the argument before comma and argument after comma. And the argument before comma is simply appending with empty string, so it does nothing. So just for the confusion, just for confusing the malware analysts and the antivirus engine, they did some obfuscation. So this is what it is. So variable one and variable two, and they are doing some find function. Okay. Now let's see. Let's try to find the next one. The next one is the variable 3 they defined here, and it is the value MSY. And the next line, the random capital letters. What it is? I'm not sure. It must be some base 64 otherwise. So let's see. Um, if it is base 64, if I decode, it will give some valid information. But it is not. It is giving some non-printable nonsense. So actually, it is simply a waste piece of this code. I'm removing that. Okay, and the next one, the if statement. There is an if statement, and it begins at line 13, and it ends in line 44. So we need to analyze a little bit. So let's start here. So here I can see cint function. So what it is? What is cint function in VB script? So let's learn that. VB script cint function. So if I see the syntax, there is an expression within the cint function, and here is an example. They are calling the cint function and the integer, and also they are concatenating it with br space forward slash, and at the end the output will be the integer alone. And the definition, if you see, the cint function converts an expression to type integer, and the value must be the numbers between this is the range actually. So this is the function. So they simply to convert the expression to the type integer. All right. Now let's see the condition. If this particular function is less than 1 and true, then set this particular random variable name to create object. Here they are using a function to create an object, and they're concatenating it. Once you concatenate, you will get the string wscript.shell. So they are calling the wscript executable, the wscript application to trigger something. So let's see. They're creating an object and passing it to a variable. So for understanding, I'm simply replacing this variable to any understandable, any easily identifiable name. So Control H, I'm simply replacing it with object variable. I suppose, yeah, object variable would be the correct name. Control Alt Enter once again. So it replaced in all occurrence. Now let's see the next line here. If you go to the next line, they defined three more variables. Here is the dim character. With a comma, they can define multiple variables in a single line. So let's see its occurrence. It is being used in many places. Even the second variable is being used, and the third variable is also used in 3 places. So let me replace this variable also in some readable name. We already defined up to variable 3. So let me name it as variable 4. So Let me name it as variable 4. The Control Alt Enter to replace its occurrence, and once again it is 5, and 6. Control Alt Enter. Perfect. Now I defined. I just renamed those variables. Now, if I see, again, they are defining a variable and they are concatenating some strings here. So let's try to uh, get each and every value here. And what they are trying to do, they are defining variable 4 with some concatenation, and in the middle they called variable 3. What is the current value of variable 3? And the variable 3 is currently holding the value of MSY. So this is the string that we need to concatenate. So here is the string. So this is what the value. And if I see the next line, they are again calling the variable 4. It contains this specific value, and they are appending it with another string. So let me do that. I'm simply copying it and moving to the end of the line and simply appending that line. Perfect. Now let me now let me enable the word wrap. So if I enable the word wrap, I can see uh, the concatenated strings here. So this is the value currently uh, present in this variable 4, and I'm simply giving it as comment for the understanding. So this is the value currently in variable 4. Now let's see the next one. Again, they are calling variable 4 and performing some replacement operation. Variable 4 reverse function they are calling. So replace function holds 3 arguments. This is the first argument, the string that we need to handle, and the second argument, a reverse function they called. Reverse function is usually holding one argument, and if you see this value, the function call, the value here, the argument value, it is non-printable arrow mark. Even if you reverse this, the same string you will get. So it is simply given to confuse us. So let's see, and at the end you can see it is empty string as a third argument. Now let's perform this replace function. So I'm simply copying this string that needs to be replaced, and I'm going to this sentence, Control F, and I'm pasting it here, and I need to replace it with empty string. So Control H, it is empty string. Control Alt Enter to replace everything. After the replacement, I found some juicy information. Let's read that here. If I see the variable 4 now, it contains this specific string. Actually, it is again in a reverse way. It is simply in a reversed order. If you see from the end, if you see from the last character, you can understand. It is forward slash app data, app data, roaming, Microsoft, Windows, start. So it is referring to start menu. Actually, they are doing, it makes sure some persistence. So that's what it is. And I'm just for the time being, I'm just keeping as it is. So I'm simply removing the string concatenation alone here. Let me do that. Here I am doing the string concatenation, and I added everything inside a single quote as a comment. Okay, now let's see the next one. They defined the value to variable 5. The variable 5, there is a string. Let me remove that. Here is the string, and the next variable 5, once again they defined, but this time they called variable 5 again, the same string, and they are appending it with another blob. So if I go here, let me copy this completely, and so Let me copy from here actually, from the plus sign. I'm copying it till the end and I'm pasting it here. So if you see, uh, it's simply non-printable character to confuse the antivirus. So here it is. Yeah, now let's go to the next one. Again, they are simply appending it with some concatenation character. So I'm simply defining the concatenation character at the end. Okay, and the next thing is copy. They are calling this particular string here. All right, inside a double quote. Okay, now let's see the next one. Again, they are calling variable 5. This time, the value of the variable 5, and they are concatenating it variable 1 and single quote and comma. So let's try to concatenate this as well. If I do that, here is my value. Let me simply remove this double quotes and all and concatenate. So here is the concatenated string. And I need to concatenate this variable 5 value with, first of all, before doing that, let me bring this entire value here as a comment, just for the sake of understanding. I cannot paste it as a comment, so I'm simply ignoring this for now. I'm keeping the value here. Now let's see what is the operation here. Variable 5, this particular value need to be concatenated with variable 1. What is the variable 1? It's currently holding. Variable 1 is currently holding this straightforward defined value. So they are simply concatenating this particular value here. And yeah, and after that, they're concatenating it with single quote and comma. So I'm just finishing it. So here the single quote begins and here the single quote ends. In the middle, they also doing some concatenation wscript.shell. So that's what it is. So let me mention it here. W script dot shell. Perfect. Now we did that. And the next thing, let's see. If you see the next thing, again they are defining the variable 5 and the variable 5's value, concatenating it with uh, another set of blob. So let me try to append this as well. And I'm appending it with another set of blob. And once again, right, now I defined everything. So up to this specific line, the variable 5 contains these many non-printable trash characters. Now what we need to do is, let's move on to the next one. If you move to the next one, again they are defining variable 5. They are defining variable 5 and adding the reverse function. They are concatenating it with the reverse function of variable 4. Now let's do this one. It takes the whole value of variable 5 that we stored in this sheet and appends it with the reversed variable 4. So what is variable 4? We already stored the variable 4 here. We comment it out. And so this is the reversed form of variable 4 and we need to reverse it to get the correct form. And that's what they are doing here. And we can also perform the reversing with an online VB script compiler. So let's do that. So let me search for VB script compiler online. VB script compiler. And here we got the tutorial points online VB script compiler. So let's open that. And a string that needs to be reversed. And here is the coding ground. The first thing is in this sub, I need to define the variable. So to define that, I'm using dim keyword space txt and txt space equal to and the string that I need to reverse. So here is the string I added, and within this console.writeLine, I'm calling the string reverse, str reverse. VB script is case insensitive, so you may either use capital letter or small letter. The output will be the same. So we wrote the code here. So let's execute. Yeah, post execution, we found the result, the reversed form of the input. So let me go to this code once again, and I need to append this reversed form of variable 4 with the existing variable 5. Here it is. So we did that, and let's move to the next line. The next line again, they are calling variable 5, but they are performing some replace operation on variable 5. Variable 5 value we kept here, and the reverse function uh, as a second argument. So here you can see the replace function already. Replace function contains 3 arguments. So this is the first argument, the string that needs to handle, and in the second argument, the string that needs to be replaced. But instead of the argument, they are calling a function as argument, and this function is reverse function. Once again, they gave some non-writable character. Though you reverse this non-writable character, you will get the same outcome. So there won't be any change. So what we have to do, we simply need to copy this non-writable string and we need to replace it with empty string. And empty string will be the third uh, argument. So let's copy this and perform the replacement operation in this sheet. Control F. And here we chose that string and we need to replace it with empty string. So let me click replace all and we need to wait for some time, get it done. Now look at this. After replacing those non-readable characters, it is totally meaningful. We got some juicy information here. It seems to be some command prompt activity. System.io.file, copy, creating object, wscript.shell, current directory, and again wscript.script name, and a directory. C users, environment username, app data roaming. So it looks like the persistence. The script ysm.vbs is being added in this startup folder. So this is what we got from this specific outcome. So let me put it inside a single quote as a comment. Now let's move on to the next one, the variable 6. And the variable 6 here, if you see, again, they are doing some concatenation. And if I scroll till the end, at the end, they are concatenating it with variable 5's value. So what is variable 5? Variable 5 we already found here. So what we have to do is we need to simply prepend this thing here. So if I remove all this stuff, Control H, let me try replace all. No, I'm not able to replace this. So I'm manually doing, bear with me. After cleaning it up, you may see what is the comment added in the uh, in the front. So if you see, uh, it is calling command prompt and pinging the local host itself -n n10, and after that it is calling PowerShell command. And as I said before, ampersand is denoting the concatenation, so it is simply concatenate this operation. So this is what the command that we wanted. At the end of the variable 6 statement, we can add this in a commented area. And once the variable 6 is defined, it will be called by object variable. Object variable is already defined. It's nothing but wscript.shell. So everything will be executed inside the wscript.shell. All right. Now we reach the end of the if statement, and the next thing is the function we already defined, the find function, replace function, and the reverse function. Post that, we can see a variable definition, and they defined a variable and they assigned an empty string to that. Not empty string, it's a space actually. There are a couple of space characters to this string. And after that, they defined one more variable, but this time they assigned some real characters and some special characters, of course. Uh, Two variables we witnessed, and let's see the third one. So if you witness the third one, you can see here, uh, actually they are calling it as a reverse function and they are calling the value in a argument. So we need to reverse this argument to get this value. So let's do that. So here is the value that we need to reverse. Again, I'm using the separate sheet to denote that. And within that random non-printable characters, we can see some variable names being called. So let's see that. Let's try to get the values for that variables. So here is the value. Let me replace it with its value. Just now I replaced it, and the next variable is this one. So let me check its value. And it is empty string, the space characters. So let me replace that as well. Control H and replacing its space characters and replace all. So I replaced all the occurrences. What else? Do we have any other variable here? I don't think so. We can see some concatenation ampersand character. Apart from that, we don't have any. So now let's try to reverse this function. Let me copy the entire thing and reverse. And I wish to use Firefox, the open source VBS compiler once again. And here, if you see, I'm using the same online VBScript compiler, and I created a variable. I defined the variable txt and assigned value to it, and I'm reversing that value with string reverse function, and I got the outcome here. Let me copy this outcome and paste it here, because at the end of this sentence, the outcome will be look like this. Okay. And the next thing is they're again calling the same variable, but this time the replace function they are calling, and the outcome we already gained, they are calling it here. And the second argument, it is combined, they combine these three as second argument. And the third argument is set. Simply they are going to find these three values and replace it with z. Let's see what are these values. uh, so this is the value. So let me try to combine these. And what is the value of this? A simple space. And once again, they are calling a string. Perfect. Now we pasted it. We need to perform the replacement operation. So let's do that. Uh, I'm copying the main string as well. Main string here. And I need to perform some replacement. So let me remove these things and combine together. And here I found that. So if I choose, I found there are a few other strings here. So let me give Control H. I'll remove this for now, and I need to replace it with Z. So let me do that. Replace all. So if I do that, I'm getting another string. Still, the non-printable characters are present, but no need to worry. Simply pasting the value here. Again, going. The next thing is they define one more variable. I think the m is left here. It must be dim, and they are defining a variable here. Now let's see. Um, they are assigning, I mean, they are defining a variable and assigning value to the variable. And the variable value is nothing but the reverse function of this particular string. And uh, they are concatenating it with the outcome of the early variable. And also at the end they are adding one single quotation. So let's do that. First of all, I need to reverse this function. So let me do it with help of the online compiler. And here I chose that. Uh, Perfect. Now I'm simply performing the same operation, and we got the out. So let me paste it here, and they are appending it with the value of this, and at the end they are adding one single quote. So let's do that. So simply I'm copying this and pasting it here, and at the end one single quote to be added. Yeah, this is the string that we wanted. Okay. And perfect. Now let's check this next one. Again, they are calling the same variable, the value, and they are appending it with this particular string. So let me do that. This is the string, and here is the value continuation. And the next one, they're again calling the same value and appending it with this particular value. So these are all part of that value. Perfect. Now we finished this. So this is the outcome. And if you see the line termination semicolon here, so if I click enter, I can write it in a separate line. So here I defined every blob in a variable named Codigo, and I can simply replace this Codigo. I can simply perform the replacement operation on this Codigo string, and I can search for this particular non-printable characters and replace it with A. So that's what they gave here. Let me perform the same. I'm removing this as it is no longer required, and Control H, and I'm replacing it with A. So when I replace, I got a base 64 encoded string, and here the special character must come since it is the replacement function. Okay, now we got the base 64 encoded string. Let's store this outcome maybe in here in this place. This entire line is performing the base 64 decoding simply. So I'll mention that as well. Perfect. Now let's try to decode this base 64. We will get some juicy information from here. I'm echoing the entire string within the double quote and calling base 64 utility -d to decode. So once I decode, I'm able to see some interesting stuff. Let me paste it in the sheet so that you can see it clearly. Here is the string. So let me paste it in a separate sheet as well. If you look at this, let me reassign this. So there are two lines here. So the first line you can see it performs some partial operation. System.convert, and from base 64 string new object, it creates new object net.webclient. Actually it sends some web request and download string, and also they mentioned one URL. Here is our first second indicator of compromise. Earlier we have seen some startup folder writing stuff. After that we found this URL, and also here if you see this particular line, here you can see the reversed object. So we need to reverse this URL as well to to get the proper format. So this is the reversed URL, of course. So we got something fishy. Let me paste it somewhere over here. We already pasted that, so I'm commenting it out. We have a couple of more lines here, so let's try to figure out that as well. Later we shall examine these URLs. Okay, now let's see this. The value that belongs to this variable, and it is nothing but the base 64 decoded stuff. And let me, yeah, it is already here, so we need to append that with this specific string. Let me paste it here to understand the line further. So what they are doing here, they are calling the variable and appending it with replace function, and here is the string, the primary string, and before comma, I'm sorry, after comma, they defined the string that we need to replace and with the empty string. So let's perform that here itself. So we need to remove this particular thing from here. And yeah, and yeah, so this is what we need to copy and append with this one. Perfect. Now let's see what needs to be done. We have this whole thing in this variable, and they are again defining one particular variable, and they are mapping that variable with the value of some non-printable characters. So let me copy this, and at the bottom of this they are performing some replacement operation on the existing string, and they are writing the output to the same string. So let's do that. They are calling the whole string that is defined here, and this is the second argument. What is the value of this variable? So this is the value of the variable, and let me first of all write this replacement stuff here. So if it means, I mean, if we need to write the values for this, we need to write this, and the same thing once again. So which means this non-printable character is separated by the semicolon, and again the non-printable character. So this is what the search string here. So let me uh, put the search string. So once again I'm pasting. So this is the search string, and Control H to replace. And what they are, with what they are replacing, with the empty string they are replacing. So if you see, this is empty string. Now let me replace it with empty string, replace all. After replacement, I got this. So this is the final outcome. Let me remove this line. I just added this line for understanding. So here is the outcome. Once again, let me I'll comment it out. Perfect. Now they are again setting one variable here, and they are creating object like wscript.shell once again, and with this object variable they are running the PowerShell hyphen command, and they are appending this value. So it is basically a PowerShell operation. So that's what, so with this the script is ending. Now what we need to do is we need to examine this specific URL that we received. You can note down the keyword here, $DLL, and also you can see the keyword byte here. So it looks like, so this is the PowerShell command from base64 string, it is simply decode that, actually it downloads the content from this, and the base64 encoded for the strings will be downloaded from this link. That's what they are trying to denote, I guess. So let's see. Uh, I'm going once again to the command prompt, and I'm putting wget. It is downloading some file. The file name is 1.txt. So let me switch the folder. I was in the folder vault. So let me run the same command in this folder. The file 1.txt is being downloaded. So if I see the file type with the file utility, I'm getting ASCII text with very long lines. So let me read this file .txt. It is simply the base64 encoded stuff. You can see how many base64 encoded stuff is present here. But that's what they gave here already. So they are trying to download the string from this URL, and it is base64 string, hence they are decoding it, and also they are putting it inside the DLL variable. So that is what this line completely denotes. So let's perform that operation and convert it to DLL. So let's do that. We need to execute this entire command as it is. So this entire command actually. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the PowerShell utility that is present in the Linux system itself. In Linux system itself, I installed the PowerShell. To launch that, I need to type pwsh PowerShell, and within few seconds it will launch the PowerShell window. Here it is. Uh, I'm waiting for the, yeah, now I got this. I'm simply pasting my clipboard data here. Here I'm defining the variable called DLL, and I'm applying all those commands and downloading the string from this URL. And it is also do some base64 decoding stuff and put it in the DLL variable. Now I'm simply clicking enter. Nothing happened. But if you click DLL, sorry, $DLL, you can see some list of numbers being displayed here. So let me abort this, and I wish to put it in a separate file. What I can call um, some, let me call it as random file dot txt. Not txt, I'm not giving any extension, I'm just putting it in random dot file. So let's put it here. Meanwhile, it is still going. Now it is done. If I see, so let me come out of the PowerShell prompt. If I see the current folder, I'm able to see a file called random file. So let me open the random file and read. It is simply the list of numbers. Actually, it lasts till 35,841 lines, so which is huge file, and I need to perform certain operation here. And you can also note on one thing here. Uh, this particular variable is defined as byte type, so which means it could be a byte array. So that's what we need to understand from here. So don't do any modification here. Um, I'm simply going to consider it as a byte array. I'm simply suspecting it. So let's see what is byte array here. What is byte array? A byte array is an array of bytes. You could use byte array to store collection of binary data, for example, contents of a file. The downside of this is that as the entire file contents must be loaded into memory. So here they define what is byte array. byte array is an array of byte, and also we can use this byte array to store the collection of binary data. That is very important link here. So this byte array can be used to load some binary data. So what we can do, we need to perform certain operation on this binary this byte array. So in order to do that, I wish to use uh, Python. But before that, let me format this file. I'm simply closing this file. Now let me copy the whole thing here and creating a new document and pasting it here. Now I need to bring everything in the same line. So let me form a dictionary here for this numbers, random numbers. So let me do that. And to do that, I'm simply performing some find and replace operation now. So here I need to find the uh, new line characters, I guess. Dash new line characters, and I need to replace it with comma. So replace all. It will take some time. And here we got the desired format. I pasted everything in a same line. I brought everything in the same line actually, and I said it's separated by comma. Now what I can do is I can simply uh, bring everything inside a dictionary. Sorry, not dictionary, a list. So let me enclose it with square bracket, and I'm going to the top. I'm creating some value, the variable name here. So what I can give, uh, list. I'm simply giving the name as list here since it is Python list. So it's going to be a Python program. So I'm going to save this file with the name of byte array parser. I'm not sure I'm giving the proper name, but I'm giving it. All right. Now let me define the syntax here. All right. Now we need to apply the byte array function of Python, and we need to type the result here. So it is very simple. Byte array of list. So if I give this, if I execute this script, let me see what we are getting. Here we are getting the byte array. So let me go to the top. I can see the byte array here. I can also see some readable, uh, some words actually. So let me write the same inside a specific file. Open. I'm simply giving the file name here. Um, File and comma. I'm writing the binary since it is byte array. This byte array is storing a binary file within this. We are going to give WB to write the binary dot byte array list. So this is what we need to do. I'm committing the previous line. So once I execute this, I'm getting the error. I made a mistake actually. Let me check what it is. I made a mistake here. So let me correct that. Now I'm writing the entire content of the byte array function operation into this specific file. Now I think I did it properly. Now let me execute the script once again. Still I'm getting the error. What could be the problem? Right? Now it's successfully executed. Actually, it should be small w. Now I finished it. So let me check the outcome. If I look at the same folder, I can see a new file called file is created. So let me use the file utility against that. I can see the file type is PE32 executable DLL. So it's an executable file, and that is what hidden in this byte array. This byte array contains uh, the entire DLL files in it. So that's what we just uncovered. And this is PE32 DLL file, right? So let me rename that. I am renaming the file to move file to spooky.dll. Now I renamed this spooky.dll, and notice one more thing here. It is PE32 executable DLL file, dynamic link library, and it is Intel Mono .NET assembly for MS Windows. If any executable that is built with .NET assembly, then we can use certain tools like ILSpy to uncover that file and read. We need not to use disassembler like IDA Pro always. If it is .NET assembly, we can use the tools like ILSpy. So let me showcase that how to use. uh, ILSpy is already included in this Linux distribution. It is ILSpy uh, command prompt version, and I am just using this particular thing against the DLL, and I am outputting all the files uh, inside a separate file. So let me name it as spooky dot net. Spooky.net. I'm simply naming it. It is taking few seconds. Still, now it is done. If I open this spooky.net file, we can read the .NET script of the entire DLL. We can analyze further and we can detect what this particular DLL is exactly doing. And we found the DLL already. So let me try to add this DLL inside here online sandbox, any online sandbox, and see what happens. And here we go. I'm opening VirusTotal here. So let me close this stage1.vbs. It is no longer required. And the folder is vault. In the vault, I'm having spooky.dll file. So I'm loading this file. Now you can see 10 vendors out of 68 found it as malicious. And you can see the description here. It is Trojan, remote access Trojan. So this is what I wanted to showcase to you. At the end, when we uploaded the DLL file into VirusTotal, we found this is a remote access Trojan, and we also got the .NET version of that file, and we can continue our analysis by opening this spooky.net file uh, and to understand the behavior of this Trojan. But this is the concept for a different video, and for the current video, this would be more than enough. And yeah, this is what I had to showcase. Finally, we had some useful learning session. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you really did, hit the like button and consider subscribing my channel. You can, if you have any opinion, put it in the comment section and I'll reply for those. and you can share this video among your friends if you really like this. Next time, I'll catch you with another exciting concept. Until then, I'm signing off. Cheers. Love you guys.